Hello again, class. This is the video commentary about the instructions for assignment 4. This is the fourth part of the course project that you are developing. So far, you have already looked at the cultural, societal, economic, and infrastructure aspects of the country you are working on your assignment. You also did a market audit and a competitive analysis. So what you have to do now is go more in detail into the marketing mix elements that you propose for the potential market here in this country that you already know more about. Now, as you can see here on the first page on the instructions, one more time, you have to use the Passport Euromonitor database in the specific sections that are indicated here. In addition, you have to comply with the format requirements that you are familiar with. You have to use, for example, the monetary amounts in local currency and the equivalent US dollars in parentheses, etc. So the first part here, you will do a SWOT analysis as part of the marketing strategy description. So it gotta start with a situational analysis. So the SWOT is a good tool that you can use, and you have to identify those aspects that are relevant or that are more salient to the case of the country you are working in with the product that you are assessing for potential introduction into that country, right? Then you do a description of the specific characteristics of the target market that your team has selected to be more profitable, to be more responsive, to be more aligned to the characteristics of your product, right? So you will describe the typical customer profile, which is also called the buyer persona. And I would like you to use one or more segmentation bases or variables. This can be, for instance, population, language, climate, where they are located in the country, which city or region. Maybe another segmentation base or variable can be related to lifestyles, consumer types, values, their behavior. Perhaps those segmentation variables will be more in line with the level of income and expenditure for different product categories. In this case, the category of product that you are working with. Maybe it's about household characteristics, family members, etc. So make sure to mention at least one of those variables or bases. And if you propose more than one segment to go after, then you have to do the corresponding part for each segment. You have to estimate the approximate number of consumers. And again, this is something that you can find in the Euromonitor Passport database. You find some resources there that are useful for this part. You also have to do a standardization adaptation matrix or table for the proposed marketing mix, and there is at the end of this document or the lower part of this instruction, you have a format or a template for that table one. Now, in the part number 3, you have to go more specifically into each of the marketing mix elements that your team proposes to implement. First, the product, right? What are the characteristics and more details in description? the name of the brand, the different product characteristics according to the product component model that you have in Chapter 13. Then go on the promotional part. The promotional mix is called, right? All these blend of different tactics and tools, which can be advertisement, some sales promotion, personal sales, public relations, uh, database marketing, etc. Now, you don't have to use them all or mention them all, but you have to justify which one you're using for what reasons. Now, you have here a note in red font that for simplification purposes, you don't have to worry or be concerned about the costs of the promotional mix tool. So let's assume that this is something that is taken care of by a partner or a foreign associate that works with you in that country. Then we go to channels of distribution. Here you want to describe which channels, wholesalers, retailers, etc., you plan or you propose. Now, again, there is a note here in red color that you are not gonna give a very extensive research for developing this part. So focus on the general description of the distribution approach. Since this is an international setting, you don't have to worry for the purpose of this assignment in logistical aspects and imports, exports, paperwork, or processes, right? Those things, again, let's assume that this is something already taken care for. So focus more on the identification of the best way to distribute the products rather than the bureaucratic import-export parts, which could be a whole different project into doing that. And most of the time you will hire, when you do this, a specialized firm or broker. Now going to the price part, this is important because here you have to provide what is the cost of goods in the country. And this part has to be based on the amount that was already provided to you when the product was assigned to the team. You have more information about that. So you have to work with that in mind. However, within those margins or within those numbers that you are given, you have to calculate what is the proposed intermediary markup margin per item or per unit if you're going to pay for intermediaries, middlemen, retailers, distributors. Then you have to consider that in the calculation, if there is value-added taxes. So you have to make sure that this is well explained, and you are advised to use a table for this. Of course, you will have to include the margin that you expect to make per item at the end, and what is the manufacturer suggested retail price, the MSRP per unit, and this should be provided in both the local currency for that market, you're gonna sell in that currency, and the equivalency in US dollars, right? So you have also here a note in red font, and this basically says that, well, you have to consider also to be not that high or that low compared to your competition, to other similar products offered in that market. Obviously, you can say, well, we are going to compete based on a low price approach, or we are going to price this product higher than the average because of the uniqueness of quality, design, style, etc. But that's something that you will have to make a decision for. And last but not least, you have to do a sales and profit forecast, right? And again, provide this in a table. You have here some specific conditions or premises, right? So under these assumptions of a market share given and according to the volumes, which volumes? Well, these are provided in the Euromonitor's passports database reports. So again, that's why you have to base your estimation, the forecast, what you propose according to these instructions, but the source or the baselines for the expected growth in those markets is not going to be just random. It's gonna be based on the Euromonitor projections that you can find through the library's database, right? Point number 4, this is an executive recommendation in which you as a team will determine or recommend whether it is a good idea or not, if it's feasible or not, to market the product in that country, right? Now, I'm not going to grade the assignment based on whether you say yes or no to that decision, but how you justify and substantiate your recommendation. And again, there is some margin for your team to work, for instance, in saying, you know, we think that the cost structure is limiting the potential to market a product according to the competitive outlook there. So we need to maybe increase the price beyond the assumptions or the numbers that are given here in the instructions. Well, but you have to justify that and explain the reasoning. Or the opposite, that you want to go for a lower price because you need to be more competitive according to the other offerings in that market, and therefore you also have to explain according to what I am indicating here in this part. Besides that, well, here is the table I told you about the standardization and adaptation in one of the previous sections that you have to complete. Provide references. Remember, they have to be in-text citations and also the corresponding list of reference at the end. Appendix with figures, charts, and let me know in case you have any question or doubt. Thank you very much.